Morning, students. It is Monday, January 30th, and this is the preview for week 5. So I'm going to make this pretty short. So week 5, there are 2 lessons this week, lesson 8 and lesson 9. Lesson 8 is simply a test review. There is no homework quiz associated with lesson 8. There's just a group quiz. You should still have a group meeting. It's probably going to take a little bit longer than your typical group meetings just because the quiz is a lot longer. It's probably about 35 or so questions, at least it has been in the past. I haven't looked at it this week. It's a pretty good review for the exam, and it's anyway a good opportunity for you guys to get together and make sure that you've got your T's crossed and I's dotted. There also, interestingly enough, I don't know why they do this, but there are no group collaboration points for lesson 8. They're the same thing with the other 2 tests during the semester also. For some reason, there are no group collaboration points. So does that mean you could skip your meeting? Well, I suppose it does, but the whole purpose of your group meeting is to learn from and teach each other. So it's a good idea to go, but it won't, there's no award of points for it. Anyway, then the exam. The exam starts today at noon and it goes through Wednesday night at 11 p.m. That's Mountain Time. So if you live anywhere east of Mountain Time, your iLearn is probably going to say the test is due Thursday, which technically is true. But if you're on the East Coast, for instance, it's due Thursday at 1 a.m. or just an hour after midnight on Wednesday. Every semester, no matter how much I talk about it, how much I email about it, how much I do anything about it, I'll have at least one student that'll see that the test is due Thursday, and so they'll get up in the morning bright and early thinking, oh, I'm going to take the test early and get it over with. And they'll get up at 8 o'clock and they'll find that the test is already closed. Because they weren't paying attention to the time, they were just paying attention to the date. So please don't be that guy. Okay, I'd like this to be the first semester ever that haven't received a phone call Thursday morning with somebody freaking out, wondering why they can't take the test. One other thing about the test. So, and this is the unfortunate mathematics of weighted scores, but the test is worth 60% of the final grade. Group quizzes, I think, are 10%, homework quizzes 20%, and the group project is also 10%. So we haven't done any group project stuff yet. We won't for several weeks still. All you've done is group work and group quizzes and homework quizzes, and the collaboration points go into the group quizzes pile. So what that means is what you've done so far is eventually going to be 30% of the final grade. The exam will be 60% of the final grade. So the exam counts twice as heavily as all your quizzes. So what does that mean mathematically? Well, for example, if you have 100% on all your quizzes, you've gotten all the questions right and things are going along just really smooth and you're feeling great, and then you take the exam and you think, and you struggle a little bit on the exam. You get 75 points on the exam, which is not a bad score, but exams are a little bit harder than the group quizzes and stuff. And so you walk out of it thinking, well, I've got 100 on everything else, so that 75% on the test shouldn't really hurt me. That's not how weighted scores work. Weighted scores work like this. So since we haven't started working on the group project yet, there's only 90% of the points in the class that have become available so far. So like I say, after you take the exam, 2/3 of it will be from the exam and 1/3 of it will be from the quizzes. So if you've got 100% on the quizzes, well, 1/3 of 100% is 33.3. So we'll call that 33.3 points. Let's suppose you get 75 on the, just to make the math easy, 75 on the exam. Well, that's worth 2/3 of your grade. So 2/3 of 75 is 50. 50 plus 33.3 is 83.3. You were sitting on this big fat 100% A for the first 4.5 weeks of this class, and then all of a sudden you take the exam and your grade is dropped to a low B, almost a B minus, and you're going to be really frustrated. And I understand it is frustrating, but that is the way that weighted, W-I-G-H-T-E-D, weighted mathematics works. The tests are weighted relatively heavily in this class. It's not my choice, it's the department's choice. I don't have any say in that. But this is the reason you should really try hard to get every single point you can out of all the group quizzes and group collaboration and homework quizzes that you can, because the tests are weighted very heavily. If this class is similar to classes I've had in the past, the average score should be around 80 to 82 for this first test. You get to use SPSS, of course. In fact, if there are SPSS problems, you must use SPSS because the data will be provided to you in SPSS format, and you will not be able to open it up if you haven't been using SPSS. So also every semester have 1 or 2 people that are like that. Please don't be that guy either. If you haven't figured out how to use SPSS yet, please, please, please figure out how to work it before you take the test. There have been 7 lessons so far. I won't count lesson 8 because it's just a review. So 7 lessons of new material. The last 4 lessons, lessons 4, 5, 6, and 7, we've done a lot of calculations. You know, can you calculate a percentile? Can you tell me what the probability of this is? Can you tell me discrete probabilities, things like that? Please don't forget that lessons 1, 2, and 3 is about 40% of the stuff we've covered so far. So it seems reasonable to me to assume that probably about 40% of the exam is going to be covering that material. We're talking about, you know, sampling, different types of sampling, how to be able to tell something's a population versus a sample. What else do we have? The steps to solving problems or running experiments, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, please don't ignore that stuff in those first 3 lessons. Don't beat it to death either, but don't ignore it. Make sure that you have plenty of notes to cover the important things, because there will be a lot of the tests that's on that. As far as notes go, you get to use 1 sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. These should be handwritten notes, and it's only going to be on 1 side of the page. I have no way of checking that you're doing that correctly or honestly, so please just, you know, govern yourselves. You get 4 hours to complete the test. If during the test you run into a brick wall, sitting there and thinking about a certain question or 2 or 3 questions for an hour and a half is probably a bad approach. You're probably not going to learn more while you sit there and ponder it, especially if the way the question is worded just doesn't make sense to you. So my standard approach to this is, if you have run into something that you just don't understand the wording, I mean, this is math. So what math, I don't know why, but we seem to think there's some sort of virtue in asking you questions that are the same questions we've asked a lot, but we're asking them in a little bit different way. Now, part of me understands that. We're trying to make sure that, you know, there's not just one way to say things. There are lots of ways to say things, too. So helping you improve your problem-solving abilities is getting you to realize that, you know, sometimes somebody's saying this, what they really mean is this, and they're just using different words. But sometimes we spring it to you on tests. I don't love it. But again, I don't have any control over what questions are written on the test, so I just have to live with it. So your role in this is, if you come to a question that just doesn't make any sense to you at all, you can sit and think about it for 45 minutes, or you can just pick up the phone and text me. If you email me, I probably won't get the email and respond to you before your test is over. So my contact information is located in the profile, the instructor profile at the beginning of the class. I'm totally fine with you texting me. I do have a job, so if I'm in a meeting when you text me, I might not be able to stop everything and just respond to you immediately. But I do make a certain note of remembering this is test time and getting to you as quickly as humanly possible. If you text me after 10 o'clock at night, Mountain Time, I'm probably not going to answer it. I'm up pretty early. I'm up by 5:30 in the morning, usually every day. So if you text me in the morning, I probably will answer it, but I'm not going to answer it after about 10 p.m. because I'm sleeping. Test taking strategies. Study hard, write good notes. Make sure everything on your notes is not just words you're writing down because it was written down somewhere else, but you don't really know what they mean. Make sure you know what they mean. Each lesson, at the bottom of the lesson, kind of has a pinkish, peach-colored section that's the summary. Boy, every single bullet item in that summary, if it's just not blatantly obvious to you, I would write down the gist of everything that's in each of those bullet points. Let's see. Look at all your past quizzes. Make sure you understand all the questions there. Here's the important part. If you study hard, you should pray hard and ask Heavenly Father for help. I'm on record many, many times as having said that, whether he cares about biostatistics per se or not, I don't really know. But I know he does care about us as a group and as individuals. And if we will turn to him for help, if we do our part, I believe he'll help us. I believe he cares about our being successful. And that includes in temporal things like getting a better grade in a class. So ask for help, work hard, pray hard, and you should be okay. That's about all the guidance I've got for that. Anyway, I hope you have a great week. If you have any questions, give me a call, send me a text, send me an email, any one of those ways. If you need a more immediate response, by all means, please use my cell phone rather than my email, because that gets a much, much quicker response. Okay, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.